You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
Hello everybody, welcome to Phoenix 92.5 FM here on Tuesday. My name is Darrow O'Connor. Welcome to the only wrestling podcast by fans that don't hate wrestling. The one and only show you need to be listening to, particularly if you like Time Machine Wrestling. And we have a lot of news to cover as well this week as well. It's been wild. I don't know what's going on 9 times out of 10, but every time I turn on some kind of social media or Twitter, more crazy stuff is going on. And to help me break all this down and then jump back in the time machine, going all the way back to In Your House number 6, is the one, the only, undefeated 1-0 Mr. Martin Herty. How are things, Martin?
We're here. We're back. There's no stopping us. We're like we were away for 2 weeks, but we're like cockroaches, plutonium, and Impact Wrestling. We will never die.
Never. You know, since the last...
In whatever state, we will struggle on forever.
Since the last show, I've been in 4 different countries.
Oh, my God.
So, I mean, I don't know why I do the things that I do, but the traveling is wild.
Ever since we had the international flight database collapse.
I don't blame you for never wanting to go on a plane again.
When we were trying to get back from All In, I don't even want to set foot in a bus station. I like my house and my couch, and I go to my training, and begrudgingly, even though my office is only 10 minutes up the road, begrudgingly I go to work once a week. But otherwise, I don't want to see the outside world.
That is fair. I mean, here's the thing. I just like the experience of flying when it's not with a specific airline, or not after the incident that nearly made me have to get a ferry home. I think if I had to get the ferry home, Martin, I would be very much in the same boat as you.
But yeah, so we got loads of wrestling to catch up.
So much wrestling.
Loads of wrestling news, but we're also into October, into the spooky season. Have you given any thought to maybe your costume this year, or any kind of Halloween parties or anything?
Well, see, that's why I was over in Paris, because Disneyland had their special Halloween spectacular on.
Oh.
So yeah,
let me give me 3 guesses if I can see what you got.
Well, no, the thing about it is, I was initially going to go back over to Orlando, but I'm like, oh, that's a long flight and expensive. So I was just like, no, I'll go over to Paris. And, it just all kind of worked out where that made a lot more sense. But the whole idea came from the fact that, Disney and Universal do special Halloween things. And I've been over to Disneyland in Paris where at Christmas time, and it's lovely at Christmas. And at Halloween, it's a whole different vibe. They don't obviously do the same thing that they do in America. I think America make a lot more. It's much more Halloween-y. Because here's something I realized, and maybe if you're listening to this in the UK or listening to this in America, you might not actually notice, because I didn't notice. But if you're a listener in Europe, you're gonna be like, yeah, obviously, Halloween isn't really a thing in Europe.
Mad.
Did you notice?
I didn't notice. Like, I got it not being a thing in, Central Africa, or it not being a thing in, Southeast Asia or whatever. But I would have thought, given its Celtic roots and that the Celts sort of came from Europe, I thought there would have been maybe some sort of, even if not Samhain, there would have been some sort of a similar festival along the line. But yeah, it's not a thing. And the worst part is if you're talking to like someone from Germany or someone who's Dutch or whatever, and you mention Halloween, they're like, "Oh, that silly American thing." It's like, no, it's Irish. They took it and made it nonsense.
You see, the funny thing about it is you've there's a lot to unpack there, right? So Celtic isn't Irish, right? This is what they told us in college. It was the first thing when we did Celtic Ireland. Made a big thing out of it. It was like 3 slides, right? And obviously, like Gaelic is Irish, right? And Samhain came from that. And obviously that was exported over to America, and that's what happened there. Where I discovered this was I went to Holland, to Amsterdam, to go to Elfteling, which is basically Disneyland, the original Disneyland, if you've taken substances and you're in some weird different dimension, because Elfteling's amazing, but
Love
it's
the sound of that.
Oh man, Elfteling's wild. It's so cool. It's so trippy is the only word I can use, because it's like you've just gone in a different dimension, and it's the Magic Kingdom true in a different dimension on some kind of trip. I would recommend it to everybody, and then it has like a bunch of roller coasters. It's great. But while I was there, they were doing their Halloween thing as well, but I'm like, this is very harvesty. It doesn't feel like Halloween. Then I was in an Uber, talking to the Uber driver, and he's like, "Yeah, we don't really do Halloween here." I'm like, "Whoa, okay, that's weird." Because like you, Martin, I thought they genuinely would. I thought like a Northern Europe thing, but then again, Amsterdam and France isn't Northern Europe; it's mainland Europe, right? We're Northern Europe.
Yeah.
And yeah, apparently it's a harvest festival they do, and it's a bit more Christian, where they go over and like sing little carols, and apparently it's lovely. But that's just not Halloween. So when I went over to Paris for Halloween to Disneyland, it's still not Halloween. Like it's more of the same. It's very harvesty festival and that kind of thing. But they still have like once they bring the Disney stuff into it, like the Haunted Mansion, and that it becomes a bit more spoopy and fun. So it was this weird clash of cultures.
You'd imagine, given the American influence over Disney, that even in France, Disney would still have, things like Halloween.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, and I'm just like, I was sitting there going, okay, I respect it, but I'm also like, I was thankful for the American influence, because I'm like, it actually kind of gave you the Halloween thing. And what's interesting as well, a lot of people there, they were dressing up and wearing different costumes, and Nightmare Before Christmas was a big thing, and it's a really, really cool time to go to Disneyland Paris. But again, if it wasn't for the going back to what I said, if it wasn't for the Americanization of Halloween, there would be no Halloween on the continent. So it is pretty funny how it works out, right?
I imagine among wrestling fans, a big one this year will be
The Fiend,
Bray Wyatt, or The Fiend, or some version of.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, I didn't answer the question. I don't have one. I don't know. Like, I play in a black metal band, as you know. We're playing Siege of Limerick on 28th.
Your work uniform on.
Yeah, we're literally playing the 28th. So I mean, I'm gonna be wearing the paint and everything. So I mean, it's funny, man, right? Because in Disneyland Paris, they were all wearing the paint to be spooky, and I'm just like, I realized how desensitized I actually am to it. When I was just standing there like, what? Like, and then I realized, oh yeah, this is not a normal thing that most people do. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be playing a gig. We're playing Siege of Limerick. And folks, if you're in Ireland, or even if you're not, if you're in like somewhere that's like 2 or 3 hours fly away,
it's worth. Siege of Limerick is worth the journey.
It is. Siege of Limerick's class, and it's free.
Yukon Ho, in the absolute desolate, frozen tundras of northern Canada. Get yourself to the Siege of Limerick.
Well, look, it's a metal festival that has 3 stages.
3?
3 stages. Yeah, in Limerick. It's all day, and it's 100% free. So, I mean, if you like metal, not just Irish metal, just in general, it's the place to go. And I don't know what stage we're playing on, and it may or may not be the main stage. But yeah, that's where we are, and it's on the 28th. No, not 28th, 29th, Sunday the 29th of October.
Well, me and the missus have decided to go as this is either going to be a triumph or a disaster. The Kelly gang.
Oh, like the Ned Kelly?
Yeah, you're familiar with Ned Kelly.
Yes.
So we're either going to look like badass bush rangers from the 1800s or two Egypts with buckets on our heads. So just depends how well we can make the costume.
I thought you were gonna go with like B.A. Billy Gunn. I'm like,
Oh,
I
don't have the body confidence to pull off those shorts.
That's fair. Oh man. Okay. It's a pretty good costume, though, to be fair. Let me know how it works out, because like Halloween, I love Halloween. I wasn't really a Christmas person. I'm kind of becoming a Christmas person now because I haven't worked in retail in a long time, and I don't hate it nearly. Yeah,
you got over the PTSD.
I got over the PTSD of it. Exactly, that's exactly it. Yeah, and now I'm like, oh yeah, Christmas is actually lovely when you're not dealing with
people.
Hordes of people for months at a time. So yeah, like. But Halloween is always great, so we might do something on the show. I don't really like. I was gonna do like a Bray Wyatt thing, but
yeah, that might be cool.
That could be cool. We could look at best spooky gimmicks or spooky matches. That could be fun.
Like that'd be fun.
Yeah, so we'll do something, because I mean, like the 27th. Yeah, we record on a Friday, so the 27th is the show anyway. So we'll put that in on our social media, guys. Let us know if you have any questions. Reach out to us on
any suggestions for spooky matches, spooky gimmicks, whatever you think.
Oh, we could even do a TNA run. We could look at the last Rice match.
It's just all spooky, though.
We could look at we could look at that. That could be fun.
We haven't covered it. We've just sort of
we just alluded to it.
Maybe it's time.
Maybe it's time to dust it off. We could look at the Doomsday Chamber blood match featuring Andrew the Punisher Martin. Actually, I want to transition into talking about something, right? So look,
yes,
I'm gonna rail on AEW for a bit, right?
Oh no, come on.
No, come on. You have to let me. TK's tweets alone this week. I mean, he's earned a bit of a lash.
Okay, do you know what? I'm gonna give you your rail, and then I'm gonna rail right back, because I think his tweets are brilliant.
That's fair. Okay, no, what I'm going to say is, like, so obviously while we've been away, a lot has happened, folks. And the big one is the debut of Adam the Punisher Copeland, right?
Sexton Hardcastle.
Demon Striker. They should have went back to use that.
I love that one.
They should have just used that one. That would have been fun. But they didn't.
But here, do you know what?
Go on.
You know what AEW is like with like wrestling history and all that. Like, they really love it. I guarantee you that he's going to come out as Demon Striker. He's going to come out as Sexton Hardcastle. Like, so you know the way Jericho's done his Lionheart gimmick and his I'm sure even when Punk, when he was there, went back to his old Ring of Honor roots and all. So I imagine that they have all this planned out. That there's a lot of sides of Adam Copeland, except Edge. We won't see that.
We will see the Rated R Superstar, because WWE never copyrighted that.
That was wild, wasn't it?
That's wild. It's crazy. But anyway, the reason why I bring him up is, and I made the joke there a minute ago, like, for some reason, my TNA sense tingles with this, and it's not for the reasons that you might expect. Like, it's the hard camera, empty arena, or whatever. That all doesn't matter. That's all AEW stuff in general. But I don't know. Can you help me with this, Martin? I don't. It just feels very, like, when he came out, I was like, oh, there he is. Rather than like, oh my God, it's Edge. Like, it's just like, oh, this is, and then he's using his own name, and it just triggers Andrew the Punisher Martin, from TNA. And I'm like, oh, I can't. I just really, I find it very hard to get over that. I don't know. I don't know what it is now. Don't get me wrong. I really, really enjoyed his segment with Christian. I think that's going to be wonderful. I think when they have their feud, it's going to be amazing. But
that was amazing. With three words, I won't say them because I know
we can't.
Pre-Watershed.
It's a T-shirt now.
Oh, but with 3 words, Christian made himself the #1 heel in the business. Like,
oh yeah,
it was amazing.
As I said though, it's like the meme, always has been.
Oh yeah.
He's just unbelievable. Listen, the question I have for you, and it's a genuine question, right? Why, or not even why? Does it bother you the same way it bothers me when wrestlers use their real names, particularly when it's not a cool name? Like Kevin Nash is cool, Scott Hall is cool, Adam Copeland, not so much. He sounds like a bassist in an indie band.
It's just a name, isn't it? Yeah.
Andrew Martin is not. Again, Test was cool. Test was hip and with it. Andrew Martin, not so much.
Here's the thing about names, and I don't mean this specifically in wrestling. I mean this kind of with anything. I used to find it a lot with whenever I'd written poems, short stories, or plays or whatever, I would agonize over the name almost as long as I'd agonize over writing the actual content. I think names are very important as a first impact. And then after that, they just rapidly become fantastically unimportant because it's really what you make of them. So if Adam Copeland goes on to have an amazing run in AEW, Adam Copeland will just be the sound that we use to refer to the guy who's having an amazing run. So I get that it's not.
No, I can't. No, I can't. I look.
I know, like because it's a time thing. Look, what's a good example? Let me think of a good example. Bryan Danielson. There you go.
Daniel
Perfect
Bryan.
example. Daniel Bryan for like the part of his career where he was best known, but he went to AEW. He is having the most incredible string of matches of his life. Like every single week he's blowing me away. He's going out on Collision and having pay-per-view level matches.
Well, here's the thing.
And that's Bryan Danielson now. And whenever you think Bryan Danielson, you don't go, oh, that's backwards, that you think that's the guy who's having those incredible matches.
Well, no, look, I hear your point, and I'd say, but Bryan Danielson he was that before AEW. He was that before TNA.
But not to the, and I think you'd agree with me here, not to the majority of WWE fans.
No, that's true, but I mean, it's very superficial, and I will grant you that. Bryan Danielson sounds cooler than Adam Copeland sounds like a bassist in an indie band.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
like, okay, imagine if Chris Jericho came out as Chris Irvine.
Yeah.
It bangs of TNA.
It's very normalized. Yeah,
it bangs of TNA, and that's, I mean, and I was sitting here trying to think about what it was, and then again, it's like, yeah, it's when Test came out as Andrew the Punisher Martin, and it was the cringiest thing that ever happened. And I'm still not over it. It was nearly 20 years ago. It just stuck with me forever. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say it never works, because sometimes it does work, obviously, but I don't know. It's like they stripped away like the if factor from him, and he's just a guy in there. It's just so weird.
I don't know. I think
it's just so weird.
Come down to what this run is. Like you say, it really helps.
It's
that
okay.
WWE for some reason just didn't trademark.
Yeah,
Rated R Superstar.
Well, here's the thing: if they just called him that, just call him that, the Rated R Superstar. Don't call him anything else. Call him that. I think that would be.
I think it gives a kind of an air of sort of sporting legitimacy to it.
No, stop.
When they use the real names. I think it does.
Stop. No, don't do this to me. No,
but it does.
No, it doesn't.
Look at who the best wrestlers are.
It's not real.
Bret Hart. No, but I know it's not real. But you're talking about the guys who have those styles of matches. You're talking Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Chris Benoit, Adam Copeland. Bryan Danielson. I think it's one of those things that will change with time. But actually, I can definitely see your point, because I remember wanting to crawl up inside my own rectum and die of cringe whenever War Machine came out as the Viking Experience. I honest to God thought I'd never recover from from that one. It's just so
hard to take it seriously, And I mean, here's the thing: I liked Edge. He was great, I just don't know what it is. It's like, okay, it's like if you obviously AJ Styles, right? Jeff Jarrett. These are the real names. It's totally fine.
The Undertaker.
Here's my point, right? If the Undertaker came out as Mark Calloway,
Mean Mark Calloway.
yeah, I know he did, and that's a very good point.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
That's what he was christened. Mean Mark.
yeah,
Calloway.
you'd be like, no, stop, stop. It's like Okay, I'm gonna dust off the old chestnut here. PJ Palaco. Who would you rather see? PJ Palaco or
that's not fair.
Or just incredible. No, that's very fair.
We're trying to have a civil conversation here. You've gone nuclear. Like come on.
No, I'm sorry, Martin. I'm sorry, but this is what I'm saying. It triggers the TNA button, which is the nuclear button.
You brought a tank to a knife fight.
Do we have to watch Hardcore Justice again? Because I'll do it.
The feud between PJ Palaco and it went like 5 minutes, and it was just like headlocks and hypnosis.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it is just because I've seen it happen before, and
an awful lot of the disagreements we have on this podcast stem from your PTSD over TNA.
Probably. Yeah, probably. And it just triggers it, and it's just like, oh God, no. When he walked out, man, I couldn't. I was like, oh, they couldn't even come. Like, what about Razor? Let's call him that. Edge Razor. They could have set that as
that bangs a TNA to me. That bangs
really?
Up. Yeah. So,
no, that's more like WCW though, to be fair.
No, but like, so he was called Edge, and then they bring him into a different company and call him Ledge. Like that. Like, the fact that he just came out of his own name doesn't it actually genuinely doesn't bother me. But if he had to come out as Edge or the Rim or
or why don't they just call him the Edge or Vampire Edge or something? I mean,
or do like Rhino, call him Edge EDJE.
Exactly, yeah, just do that. I mean, there were ways around it, but him just kind of going, oh no, I'm gonna use my own name.
Well,
it's like, oh.
I'll tell you what, Dara, as the Bard of Armagh,
yes,
I will defer to the second greatest bard in history on this particular subject, good old Billy Shakespeare.
Yes,
who declared that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So,
well, I would love to hear his opinion on PJ Palaco. or
the bard might even have to draw the line there.
Or Hardcore Justice in general. Because I mean, he wasn't alive for it. He was spared it. So
he was, yeah. He came close by a mere 400 years.
just a bit. Just missed it.
He's laying in his grave, just going, dodge that one.
Oh man, but and I think when we start doing our TNA arc more, actually no, you've confirmed it now. We are going to do the Doomsday Chamber blood match because you need to see this and see when Andrew Punisher Martin comes out. You'd be like, oh my God, Darrow was right. Because again, I don't like to beat this horse that much, but when AEW does this, it's just like, oh Tony, what are you doing, buddy? I mean, it's free on YouTube. You could just watch these mistakes being made, but I just don't know. The fact that no one said it to him, it's like, listen, what are you doing?
But again, it honestly, like, it genuinely strikes me as something that's because of your past traumas isn't an issue for you, but it's something I never even actually even gave like a second thought to.
Like, Christopher Daniels is cool.
Christopher, yeah, I mean, like, names are, certainly I know I wouldn't come out as Martin Herty. Firstly, because nobody can pronounce my bloody name. Everyone calls me Harty.
That's fair. That's very fair. But look, okay, I'll put it this way, right? When Dustin Reynolds went to different places, he always reinvented himself with a gimmick, and he was Black Rain in TNA.
You're not selling it.
Now that was a bad gimmick, right? PJ James and Kip James, Road Dogg, former #1 contender, and the New Age Outlaws were the Voodoo Kin Mafia. That was equally as bad. So I'm not here saying,
Road Dogg went to TNA and said, what I need is a really crappy name and a really racist gimmick.
Oh, this was the second gimmick. This one where he just attacked Vince for the whole time.
Oh, right. Was this
Hit the
bottom, Levesque,
Yeah, exactly.
the
Yeah,
Alamo.
Alamo. Literally. So I'm not saying that every time this is done, it's a good thing. In fact, sometimes it makes it so much worse. But at the same time, I don't know. Look, history will be the arbiter in this. But when I see Edge come out here, I'll come out to this. Like, it's weird. He's coming out to the same theme. He's doing the same gimmick, and he's using the Rated R Superstar. It just, oh man, it just bangs the TNA. I don't know what it is. I really don't.
I don't know.
Oh no, actually, hold on. Do you think he, like, if I was in his position, right, I would have went to Vince and been like, listen, here's $1 million. I want, because obviously he has it, right? I'd be like, look, or even TK would be like, look, here's $1 million, $2 million. Let me buy that name off you. Or let me use that licensing agreement. I don't know why he doesn't do that.
But I don't think he wanted it. So he came out and the whole crowd was chanting, Adam, and he was like, oh my God, that's so nice to hear my name. I think he knows he's towards the end of his career. This, however many, I don't know how many years his contract is, but I imagine this will be his last wrestling contract. I think he wanted to go out on his own terms. He wanted to go out as himself, as Adam Copeland. It gives extra kind of legitimacy to this awesome feud he's having with his real life best friend, Christian.
Okay. So in TNA, there used to be one of the big things that TNA detractors would say would be, wrestlers would cut promos when they've jumped from WWE to TNA and be like, oh, I finally get to be me. They wouldn't let me be me. And it's just...
I mean, for some people that's good, and for some people that's bad. There are some people who definitely should not be themselves. You know?
I don't know. Like Team
Kane. You know,
okay, fair
do you want Kane or do you want the weird conservative mayor of like? No, I like Kane. Give me Glenn Jacobs. Give me Kane.
Well, look, when Team 3D came to Impact Wrestling, you know, Brother Devon and Brother Ray, that was weird. I'm not gonna lie, that was a weird adjustment, and eventually they made it work. I mean, Bully Ray became a huge star. I used air quotes because he's never a star. Became to the point that WWE, when he came back, is like, no, you're being Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley. That's what you're being. But you know, it became less weird. It was more like, it just became something that you'd be like, okay, fair enough, they're Team 3D. And Team 3D got over. So I'm not saying it can't be done.
No, but that's what I was saying earlier. If he goes
weird
on to have a genuinely great run, I don't think it'll matter.
Kurt Angle. You know, Kurt Angle is case in point as well, where, you know, it can be done. I don't know. I hope it does kind of. I don't know how to. You know, it's weird that you have this viewpoint on it, because I think it kind of like shows the other side of the coin. Because I guarantee there's people who are just as thrown about it as I am, and then a lot more people who are obviously on your viewpoint on it too. But the entire time, I'm just like, you know,
I think it's just personal part. Like, I do see where you're coming from. Like I say, the Viking experience thing was the worst example of it I've ever seen. PJ Polacco is well up there, but there's like loads of wrestlers. If you read any wrestler's book, they all had some. Now, normally it's in the very early stages of their career, but they all had some dreadful name.
Because right, you know, Balls Mahoney, for example, right, when he was Cajones, it's like, that's actually not too bad. That's okay. I mean,
what was it they changed Booker T's name to whenever he was like Standard Army Guy for some reason?
Oh, yeah.
The Sniper or something
like that, yeah, in WCW.
No, he was Booker T. He was really over and totally recognizable. Why are you changing his name?
I just, you know, it's interesting, and it must be like a legacy thing where like Edge was in WWE so long that he did not own that copyright. You know, probably some other people who have there later on, like particularly with, you know, AJ Styles never had that problem. Kurt Angle, obviously, because his name never had a problem. But anyone who used their gimmick, Samoa Joe would be the same.
It's mad.
It's
Isn't
just
it,
mad, yeah.
that there isn't like some sort of like what is it to call it when you're not married? A common law marriage.
Yeah.
Just if you've been living together for so long, you kind of have the same rights. It's mad that there isn't something where if you've been going as Edge for 20 years, like you get shared ownership.
But I mean, like, here's the thing. I know WWE did try this because, of course, they did. No one else is going to be able to be Edge. You know, you're not going to have some lad
Exactly.
just, you know,
like,
just
it's spiteful, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, it is, and it's one thing that like I wish wrestling. Like I know why they don't do it because the amount of money that that they can make on that is still an issue. But there should be some kind of like leasing where it's like, okay, I will license this for like Spider-Man, for example. Where Marvel will rent Spider-Man or whatever from Sony, and they'll be able to use him in his movies. That would make sense. You're probably right though. Maybe.
Do you remember Jim Hellwig got around it by legally changing his name to The Warrior?
Well, there you go. Why doesn't Edge do that?
Yeah,
but maybe he
Edge.
doesn't want to. Yeah, exactly.
We know you're listening.
But I mean, there you go. I mean, like, that's what. Look, I would do that. I'd be like, if. Oh, jeez, Adam Copeland. Oh, it's just so boring. He sounds like a bass player in an indie band that isn't very good.
But you know what, Dara?
Yes.
Like every band needs a bass player.
They do, and I'm not digging at bass players, but it's like
Sounds like you're going to have an awkward conversation when you go back to see the Horrenda lads. Here, now that we've ragged on poor old Adam the Edge, Sexton, Hardcastle, Copeland long enough.
Demon Striker's better.
What it actually is.
It's
You know, it's
so
one of
better.
those names that's so ridiculous. It actually does a full 360 and works.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
mean,
something you'd hear in like Eastbound and Down or whatever.
well, it's like the B sharps, a name that's funny at first and gets less funny every time you use it.
It's so daft, you love it.
Yeah.
But here,
Go on.
speaking of the crisscrossing mixed worlds of Ring of Honor and AEW and Impact, because we know he was in Impact because we saw both of his nipples.
Oh, God.
And WWE, in the space of a week, Punk has gone from he's 100% showing up to Survivor Series to like 6 days later, he asked WWE for a job and they said, no, get out.
I think that's a work.
Not a chance.
No, I genuinely, I'm gonna go on record here.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go on record. I'm gonna say that is a work. He is gonna show up at Survivor Series, and they do not want people knowing that. Now, here's the thing: it could be the case, and it's more realistic to be like, no, you're not worth the trouble. I mean, that would make sense, but this is WWE we're talking about. And yeah, man. I mean, it's. I don't think. Look, I think some of it is maybe I just wanted to happen, but another part of me is just like, no. It seems a lot more likely that he will show up at Survivor Series.
I think me and you saw his last match live.
I mean that's the logical solution. I mean that makes sense. I'm not saying you're wrong. I do think you're right, but there's just something. I don't even know what it is.
Well,
there's just something about that doesn't feel right.
Here's what it is for me, right?
Go on.
WWE right now is flying high. I mean, unbelievably. Like, never mind like the height of the Attitude Era or Hulkamania. And WWE right now has more money, more power than they have ever had.
Oh yeah, easily, even during Cena's time.
At any time in their history.
Yeah.
And the thing is that right now, they do not need Punk. Here's the analogy I would give it. Because Punk can make them more money, I'm sure, but not significantly more when you're already breaking in, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. So if I said to you, Dara, here is 10 million euro, right? That's just yours. No strings.
Right.
You've been doing great. here's 10 million euro, and that's yours, and that's it, right? Or if you want,
what's in the box?
I can give you 12 million euro,
Right.
but you have to roll this dice, and there's a 1 in 6 chance you'll lose everything.
Oh,
That's what it is with Punk. Like, if he came in and it went really well, they probably would make a ton of money off it. But the thing is, they already have 18 tons of money, and they really don't need to take the risk on this lunatic. Like, he came in and he legitimately, AEW still has not recovered from Brawl Out, because Brawl Out was the point where everyone was talking about AEW because the in-ring product was so good, the matches were incredible, the story was really good, the product was really hot, and then Brawl Out happened, and then for the next year, all anybody talked about was the backstage bull. And amazing matches, amazing shows were happening, and they were all getting ignored, and the product got less and less popular over that year because all anyone cared about was, who's fighting with who backstage, who's feuding, Punk's coming back, oh no he's not, oh he might be, oh I heard he was at Raw, oh I heard he was at, so that dude like single-handedly wrecked a company that survived COVID.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. No, I mean, sorry, not that it happened, but your that little tagline's incredible.
So like,
company survived COVID, will it survive Punk?
No, so like he would never, like, WWE's too big.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Do they need the headache? Like,
yeah. See, here's the thing. I mean, the difference would be that like TK is a mark, right? And we are too. I mean, we're doing a wrestling podcast, right? But he's a money mark, and no one said he wasn't going to say no to Punk, and he didn't. I mean, he literally gave him all these mad things that he never should have gotten, and just like, listen, you're working for me, stop it now, right? Which is what Vince would have done, for right or wrong. And he wasn't doing that. So I mean, a lot of this was kind of like brought on by himself. But I do see your point. I don't think WWE would do something like that because, like, they definitely wouldn't let him run. Which, I mean, they kind of overcorrected, and then we had the whole lawsuit thing and blah 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 blah, right? But that being said, with WWE, they do always like to go for the big shock. I mean, Cena came back, The Rock came back. Like, these guys weren't supposed to come back. Now I know that it was because of the strike.
That's true.
But they still
those lads didn't spend the past 7 years just bad mouthing WWE at every opportunity, and then they didn't debut on WWE's main rival, and their whole gimmick was that wasn't even wrestling. I left wrestling in 2004, and now I'm back.
That's true. That's true too. I mean, look.
And also, half the top guys here really hate me. Like Seth Rollins hates him. Roman Reigns hates him. I'm not saying he's a top guy, but obviously The Miz has like a lot of longevity in WWE.
Do you not think
hates him?
Yeah. Do you not think though that is a perfect setup for a WrestleMania angle?
Yeah, but we have lived through this. It is a perfect setup. But
but Punk
versus Colt Cabana was a perfect setup. Punk versus Omega was a perfect setup. But he didn't want to do those things. He wanted to punch Jack Perry backstage.
Sorry, I forgot what show we were doing. But Punk.
So that's what would happen.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And they would set out an amazing story for him, right to the top, right to WrestleMania, the most incredible main event of all time. And then Punk would go and beat up, I don't know, Mansoor. Like he just,
yeah, no, you're right. You're not wrong. You're actually 100% right.
He's just, and again, like here's the thing for me. Do you remember when he started in AEW and you were like, man, the UFC thing has really tarnished his image for me.
Yeah.
Because, he kind of presented himself as like legitimately the best in the world. And then he went and legitimately fought and got smacked twice. Like, for me, the way he acted in AEW has legitimately tarnished his image for me in the same
Yeah.
way the UFC loss did for you, because he's constantly walking that gimmick but real life lane where he's, all on the side of the workers and on the side of the people, but when it came down to it, he's just a goddamn diva. Like that would make it very hard. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd be mad interested to see what he'd do in WWE, but I don't think I could ever truly buy into him ever again.
No, that's fair. That's really fair. I mean, yeah, you lay out a very compelling argument. You really do. And that's why, like, when he was doing the stuff in AEW, it was very hard for me to actually buy into, because I'm like, oh, that's not Punk. And then when Real Punk showed up, I was like, oh, there he is. Because you know what he is. Like, that's what he is. But at the same time, he went too far and obviously caused a lot of trouble for himself.
Yeah. Now, look, WWE's in a massive upswing at the moment, but these things don't last forever.
No,
like,
no.
Like, we also how quickly things fell off after the Attitude Era and, the purchase of WCW and all that. So, like, that's not to say that in 2 years, with the Bloodline story over and Cody's story over, and they're not really kind of building any people up to come behind them, like, that things won't be a wee bit dead and a wee bit quiet, and they'll go, screw it, let's bring Punk in and generate.
But there's no real point. I mean, Punk is in bits. Like, every big match he had in AEW, he got hurt after it. I mean, like, the thing about it is, even when he was younger, he was still not past his prime, but not a young man anymore.
No, well, double nipple rings will take a lot out of you.
Oh.
There was no need to do the two of them.
There really wasn't.
Like, is it to jumpstart yourself in case you can't get up in the morning? But I, honest to God, I'm going to make a bet with you now, right?
Go on.
I don't know if you'll take this bet, but because it might be a long-term thing, it might not come true till next year or the year after. But I'm going to make a bet with you.
Sure.
Accepting, apart from stuff like, the Hall of Fame or stuff like that.
I think he'll get that. I definitely think he will get that eventually.
An in-ring return. Punk will be, if he returns in-ring, and I'm not convinced he will, but if he returns in-ring, it'll be in AEW, not WWE.
I'm still not going to discount that he could just show up in Impact.
Did they have enough? They have enough money?
He might just do it out of spite.
He almost killed AEW. He could destroy Impact in a weekend.
No, they'll be around for everything.
That's what I thought. But
don't worry, they'll be around for anything. I mean, Impact survived Hulk Hogan intact, just about.
Yeah, just about.
They already had experience with a company killer,
Couple of them.
A couple of them.
They survived Hogan. They survived Bischoff.
I mean, look, the thing about it is, it's like, I think if Impact were to take Punk in, they would know what they're getting. They would be aware of the situation, and they're like, okay, we know what we're getting into. We know what to expect. I think with AEW, the only problem with Punk in AEW was that the guy making the decisions didn't realize what he had. He had a barracuda, and he thought it was a goldfish. And that was the problem. And then he became friends with the barracuda. The barracuda decided to be what it is, and he got scared. So
I
no.
I don't think we'll ever see him in Impact, because one thing we have learned is that Punk is a diva. He's an egotist, and he will not go out in front of those Impact crowds of 150 people. Like, he walked out of AEW in front of the biggest crowd in wrestling history.
No, he got fired. They fired
Well,
him.
yeah. Well, he
would have still showed up.
No, that's true. Yeah, he wrestled in front of the biggest crowd in wrestling history, and then immediately went backstage and punched a young fella. There.
No, he punched him beforehand.
Oh, was it before his match?
That's why he was bleeding.
Oh.
He punched the young fella. Dead
Whatever
went down.
whatever the train of events is, it's like it's not good.
I'll be
Like,
honest with you though, I find it incredibly entertaining, and I know
Oh.
you don't. It's the most entertaining thing I've ever seen in
oh
wrestling.
man,
CM Punk.
if he went to WWE, like, don't get me wrong, I'd be fascinated, just fascinated to see how he does it, what he says, how long it lasts. I would give it 3 months maximum. Honest to God, if they brought him in for the Royal Rumble, it would be a miracle if he made it to WrestleMania. Like,
But the thing of it is, it's like I do think that TK should reconsider, and be like, look,
well,
because the thing about it is, like, if this is true, right? If it is true, where and apparently Randy Orton is going to return at Survivor Series, that's just breaking now. So maybe he's taken,
awesome.
maybe he's taken Punk's spot, but
It's brilliant. I can, because I have awful trouble sleeping, so I'm so glad to hear that Randy Orton's coming back.
but
Blissful slumber.
well, if nothing else, you can sleep nicely knowing that Randy Orton is coming back. But if
RKO, I didn't know. Oh, he's already passed out.
but if that indeed Punk isn't going to WWE, and I still do think that he will show up at Survivor Series, if not the Rumble. What could happen is, and I think what a better thing for AEW to consider is, go, right, we're gonna take him back, but it's under these circumstances.
Yeah.
And it would have to be very, very controlled. And I think, Tony now would be like, right, I kind of know what I'm getting myself into here.
Yeah.
And
I'm not your friend anymore.
I'm not your friend anymore. He never should have been his friend before. Again,
No, but
hold on. If he had been a student of history and watched TNA, he would have learned the danger of this.
But
he
Tony's greatest strength is his greatest weakness. Like, Tony's greatest strength as a booker, as a promoter, is that he genuinely loves wrestling. Like, he properly loves it. He wants to not only produce a great wrestling product, he wants to preserve wrestling history. Like, we have Wrestle Dream and all that just happened.
But he didn't follow any of it, Martin. I mean, if he had have learned the lessons of Dixie Carter.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why his greatest strength, what makes him such a great booker and such a great promoter, is also what kind of makes him not a great boss figure.
Yeah. I mean, there's a great movie I watched recently. It's called Blackberry. It's about the history. It's a comedy movie, but it's about the history of BlackBerry. The phones.
Oh, I'll be interested in that.
It's really, really good, and it's done over the course of the whole period of the company, from their foundings in the mid 80s up to they went under. Only a couple of years ago, but basically their whole premise was they wanted to make products that worked. Not made cheaply in China, not made for maximum profit, but made to work. The network's always up, the phones are always top notch, blah 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 blah, and that was their product.
That's what killed them.
And that's what killed them.
God damn. See, that's so weird to say that.
No, but hold on. It's not only what killed them really was the iPhone, right? But their reputation killed them to an extent where the minute they moved away from it to try and save themselves, they went down faster. So they were going down anyway because of the iPhone. But then when they shifted slightly away from it and didn't learn why they were successful, it took them down even faster. And that's the lesson that they should have learned. Just like the lesson that Tony could have learned here. Just sitting down, reading a book on Impact and being like, right, or WCW, I don't want to. I think the WCW thing has way more nuance than Impact Wrestling or TNA. Impact Wrestling is a different thing. It's way more nuance than TNA specifically, because those mistakes, I see them. The whole Punk situation just screams, right. If you had just looked at this, it would have been a little bit different. But yeah, that's it. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, not at all. Here's honest, my genuine opinion is that he's done. That no wrestling company is going to touch him because they either can't afford him, or the ones that can afford him don't want to take the risk.
Yeah, that's fair.
But if someone said to me, he is going to make an in-ring return, what's your bet? My bet would be that he sits out for a year or two, realizes that because of the way he's behaved, WWE don't want him.
Right.
But he also knows that Tony Khan, as you've said, well, your words are he's a mark. I don't really like the term
money mark.
But he is
the term. He's not a mark. Yeah.
But he's a legitimately huge fan.
Wait, that's not my term. That's a Kevin Nash term. It's in the book.
Yeah, but Kevin Nash.
I know. But
sorry, I didn't mean to give you editing.
no, it's okay. But no, I mean, fair enough. What I'm saying to you is, like, this is how wrestlers perceive them, you know?
Yeah, but my point is then that I, honest to God, if he is going to make an in-ring return, the only place I see it being in is AEW, because I think Tony Khan is the only one who would, like we just talked about, would overlook, all the evidence that has just happened to him, and because he loves wrestling, would just see the incredible wrestler CM Punk and would give him another chance. Now, he obviously wouldn't be as nice this time. It would come with conditions. It would be like, hey, you're going to have a main event pay-per-view match with Colt Cabana, and you can like it or you can leave. And you're going to have one with Kenny Omega and the Bucks and Hangman Page.
But that's what it should have been. He should be like, listen, I'm your boss. You get no money if you decide to play around. Deal with it.
Yeah, but look, here's like AEW this is the kind of balance that Tony Khan has to walk. AEW was set up to be the alternative, right? AEW was set up as the company that doesn't treat wrestlers like crap, that doesn't fire people in the middle of their contracts for no reason, that doesn't demand that you work, like 320 days out of the year, that doesn't force you to work like Punk, sick and literally crap yourself in the middle of the ring. It was set up to be different, and Tony Khan was set up to be a different boss. And like I said earlier, what makes him incredible is also what makes him susceptible to grifters and divas.
You know what? I'll take your point on that. All I'll say is, as somebody who personally knew Dixie Carter, she said the exact same thing. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, it's unfortunate that, but it is wrestling, and wrestling isn't the sport. It's still very backroom, backstab kind of thing, and it is. And I think like what happens now, the cool.
That's why there'll never be a union.
Well, there might be, but it would be if someone like Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson's ilk became prevalent in wrestling as a whole. You know what I mean? Like with him, you're like, okay. But there's certain other guys, particularly when you read the book, like what's it, JTG's book.
Yeah.
Both of them actually are hilarious reads, but they're also horrific because you find out what goes on with some of the stars in WWE. And it's just and even in AEW, I mean, the way we saw, the whole brawl out situation held by the elite. Except for Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega seems like he's really cool. He would be great too. But it needs to be.
Dara, I still live partially. I'm trying not to, because I know it's not the real world, but I still live partially in the alternate reality where what I thought of a brawl out was true, that it was just like an amazing promo setting up like a year's worth of feuds.
But see, the thing about it is, I mean, if we lived in that realm where wrestling was to get everybody over as much as possible, I think we could do that, but a lot of people are still just like, no, I'm in this for myself. And that's what brings down wrestling companies. That's what brought down WCW. That's what nearly brought down Impact at its worst. It's what nearly happened.
But nothing will ever bring
Nothing will ever. The nukes will be flying. The sun will implode. And it'll still be doing shows. He'll still be doing shows. Which, I mean, fair play to them, because why not, But Yeah, I think on that note, we're gonna leave it for this week. But we're gonna double record, so we're gonna come back and we're gonna look at our actual topics this week instead of our random catch up, guys. So we're gonna do this as a special bonus show. We're gonna do, and then we're gonna come back, record the next show and put them up on the feed as well. So Martin, is there anything you want to say before we do a nice cut on this one?
No, are we still pre-Watershed?
Yes.
Ah, god damn it. I wanted to sign off with Christian, but I'll just say have a lovely time, folks. There's lots of wrestling going on. Don't get caught up in the Twitter nonsense of it all. Like, when you step outside that, there is really great stuff happening. Ignore that waffle and just enjoy the graps.
Genuinely, folks, the more you're off Twitter, particularly as a wrestling fan, the better you'll be. But what I will say is, if you do use Twitter, contact us and give us ideas for shows that you want us to watch around Halloween, because I can assure you the Doomsday Chamber blood match is going to be something else. I'm actually, you know what I'm going to do, Martin? I'm going to pick out the top 10 spooky insanity moments from Impact Wrestling, from TNA Wrestling. That's just what our Halloween show is going to be. Just 10. I was going to limit to 10. I'm going to do 10. Like the craziest spooky moments from TNA Wrestling. And we're going to watch them. We're going to make a playlist because all the stuff's free on YouTube. And we're going to watch them.
Kind of, I don't know. I don't think that'll work because everybody knows number one is like automatically going to be when the door was kicked open and Perry Saturn was changing out of his underwear. Like that's your first one. Everyone like already knows, but there's no point in going in because everyone knows that that's going to be the top ones.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll have that as an honorable mention and we'll go for other ones. So we'll leave that one out because that one obviously wins.
Clear, yeah.
We'll go for something else. All right, folks. Well, we'll be back after. There's going to break. We'll be back next week here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. Go over to the feed now over Nerd to Know Media and get our other show where we're going to be talking about Wrestle Dream, In Your House, number 6, and a few other bits and bobs. But for
a bit of Fastlane.
Wee bit of Fastlane.
There wasn't a whole pile happened.
There really wasn't. It was a massive waste of time. But we will be talking about that over on the feed, and Martin will be able to do his proper sign off.
Oh, I can't wait.
So until then, folks, we'll talk to you next week here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, Nerd to Know Media, the Truepenny Channel, and the WrestlingRewind.com. See you then, guys.
Give it